What's up, guys? We are back with another Figura Obscura review and one of the 2024 retailer variants. We're taking a look at the Ghost of Jacob Marley. So this is that super blue version of Jacob Marley that, frankly, I was not prepared for how blue this thing is. It's pretty wild. We've got him here in our standard, but still premium, deluxe, I should say, Figura Obscura style packaging. You've got this outer chipboard sleeve that is, of course, covered in Nate Barch artwork as usual, from front to back, top to bottom. And then, of course, you can take it off. It's magnetized, so it'll clip onto the box. And then you've got even more artwork on the inside to showcase just how amazing Nate is and what he does for this line. And then, of course, you've got your box within. So you've got the figure there in the window, and then you've got probably one of the best Nate Barch boxes that I can think of in this line. I absolutely love this one. It's integrating a bunch of folks from Four Horsemen Studios as ghosts all over this box. Really cool to see that, and just to, I guess, to see it again, really. But I absolutely love the packaging for this one and the ideas that Nate ran with for Jacob Marley. And then, I mean, look at this guy. He is absolutely the bluest thing I've ever seen. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Figura Obscura retailer exclusive Ghost of Jacob Marley. So this is the haunted blue version. Obviously, he's super blue, and it gives off Haunted Mansion vibes for sure, right? This guy I am very excited about because just since we knew he was coming, I was really curious to see exactly how blue he was, exactly what they could do with that to make that figure even better. And I do think this is my preferred version at this point. He does still include the surprise bonus item. We'll get to that when we get to accessories. And in general, this is just a great repaint of an already great figure. So if you like that first one, there's a lot of reasons to buy this second one. Now that said, before we kind of get into it, there was an issue with this guy. He was apparently supposed to glow in the dark blue. I'll readily admit that I do not ever remember seeing that anywhere. It's not hidden. It's definitely written out all over the place. I just didn't pay attention to that. So it wasn't a problem for me when they said he wasn't going to glow. That said, he probably would look incredibly awesome if he did glow. So I can understand how that might be an issue for some folks. It's not personally a problem for me. Your mileage may vary. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. Still a 1.0 figure. No real surprises here. He is kind of limited, though, in some ways because he has this big jacket. You've got a head that can bobble a little bit. He has a big old head of hair. He's got a collar. It gets in the way. You've got tilt side to side. You've got full rotation there. Arms out at the shoulders. They, of course, swivel. We've got single jointed swiveling elbows. You get about 90 degrees. You've got gauntlet swivel. You've got wrist swivel and hinge. The 1.0 torso, so he goes backwards and forwards. He goes forwards better than backwards because of the jacket. You've got some tilt side to side. You've got rotation there. Now, if you get the jacket up out of the way, the legs can kick forward really well. They kick backward a little bit, and they can kick out all the way, but the jacket is still going to get in the way. You just got to watch it. You've got thigh twist up there. We've got single jointed, about 90 degrees swiveling knees, so they do rotate. He has boot swivel also at the bottom of the boot cuff. He's also got a swivel at the top of the ankle, like usual, and then you've got hinges and you've got rocker down at those ankles. So he is still very much a 1.0 Legions figure, despite being a Figura Obscura figure, right? He's still a Legions figure, and he very much moves as such. The only real hindrance is going to come down to the fact that he's got this very plastic jacket that sits over top of the figure, but at the same time, this is one of those figures that's not really an action-y type of character, so I don't necessarily mind that kind of stuff as much. Now, unsurprisingly, I think the most important aspect of this figure is the visuals, and specifically the change from the first figure to the new figure. So I think it's worth just bringing the old one out and just do a comparison between the two, because especially if you don't have that one, it gives you an idea of what's been changed, and if you do have him, well, you'll know exactly why you might still want to get this one as well. So let's move him aside just a little bit, and here is the standard Figura Obscura Jacob Marley, and you can get an idea of exactly how different they are. So the color scheme on the first one does lend very blue, but he's also very gray too. Not only that, he has a lot of translucent parts, which is a really big selling point for me to begin with, like the transition from painted to translucent on the jacket and then the translucent boots was always a big selling point for me, but he's also very muted by comparison. So he is a little bit more, we'll just say ghostly, right? I think this figure just looks cooler, just from a toy standpoint. I think the blue version just looks cooler. And that's really more of a personal preference than anything else. Obviously, you could mix and match these parts as well and swap things around to maybe try and make your preferred version. But I really love what it is about this figure that is just so super saturated blue. And that's really the Haunted Mansion vibes that keep coming through on this one for me. it's how intense this blue is. It's beautiful. Like, that's really the only way to say it. When I got him out of this box for the first time, it's just, he is insanely blue, and I can't stop saying it. This is an incredibly blue figure. It's really hard to kind of showcase this until you get him in hand and you can see exactly how deep and saturated some of these blues are. But I think it's a cooler version of this figure. The first one I think is still great, don't get me wrong, but personally, I really, really love this figure. I'm really happy with the way the colors work on him, the different layering of blues on him, and the different textures that he got from like the use of the fabric pieces on the Mythic side, things like that. So you've got a lot of dry brushing over top. So there's a lot of white dry brushing over this to bring out that fabric sculpt and texture. You know, you've got the little kerchief piece here as well. The head sculpt on him is, of course, unique to this figure. You're not going to see this anywhere else, at least, well, not yet, I suppose. And I love this head sculpt. It's really terrific. Great detail. Tons of paint on here as well. And of course, you know, again, very saturated, lots of layering of different types of blues and maybe a slight bit of green on there as well. You've got a little bit of like a rotting flesh thing going on. And of course, you know, his head is being held together by this wrap right here, which works really well, especially if you know the idea behind what's going on. And then you get that extra head sculpt where the wrap is not there and you get to see what happens. But I really love this figure. I think he looks terrific in general, but he is just accentuated that much more for me just by virtue of the fact that he is so crazily blue. And that's really the only way to say it. This guy is a crazy, crazy level of blue. Now, as far as accessories goes, Jacob Marley comes with the exact same stuff here that he did with the first release. The big differences are going to be just color palette swaps. Really, everything is essentially the same, save for some color changes, just to make them different enough, right? So to start with, we do get the extra head sculpt. So this is the head with the bandage off, so the jaw is like distended and just barely hanging on. I really like this head sculpt. I do find it to be kind of cartoony in some ways, but I think in this color scheme in particular, I think it actually works really well. Again, it still very much gives off a Haunted Mansion kind of vibe, but I really like this head sculpt. It's very just weird and gruesome and gross, so I'm all for it. He does come with some extra hands. He had gripping hands on him in the box. We've got this sort of, style posy, gesturing hands. You've also got a set of grasping hands. They're not exactly gripping hands. They're more, clawing, grasping style hands. He does obviously still have the harness, which is adorned with all the chains. So you've got a bunch of keys hanging off of him. He's got a bunch of books. We've got a bunch of like lock boxes hanging off of him. Of course, he is still dragging the safe around with him. Some of this stuff is different colors. The keys are not the same color. The books are different as well. He does also include an entire baggie of keys. I didn't really want to mess around with these right now. So there is just a number of very like bronzy, coppery kind of keys. So you can use these with the figure. And then they are very much all over these chains already too. So you get a bunch of loose ones also. There is a surprise. It's not a surprise anymore inside this safe. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But I do really love the harness on this figure. It's my favorite aspect of the entire figure, really, because I think it absolutely makes him into something, at least for me, a lot more exciting and, this very tortured soul spirit kind of thing. What I tend to do, and I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way to put this on, I take the head off, I take the arms off, and then you just slide it over top and put him back together. And it sits on him so well. And I mean, this thing is just gnarly looking. I really like putting it on other figures. Definitely, something like a Tortured Knight, something like that. Maybe throw it on a Hagnon or something like that to really, up the ante in terms of him being this sort of tortured spirit. But it does look really good against this very bright, vibrant blue. He still includes the door knockers also. And of course, these are the same. These are very similar, if not maybe slightly darker than the ones that came with the first release. I can barely tell a difference. So you've got the one with the mouth closed, and then you've also got the one with the mouth open. These do have the holes on the back, so if you want to mount them on something or if you want to put them on a dio of some kind, you can do that fairly easily. And then, because it's not a secret anymore and there's no reason not to show it, and if anything, it's in the promo pictures for this release, so it's not hidden these days. We do include the extra head sculpt, the surprise head. So this is the Man in the Iron Mask kind of head sculpt almost. And this is on one of my armory builds from Legion's Con. So this is one of like the black color, like the gunmetal color. This is almost identical to the first release. So here's the first one. The only real difference that I can tell, outside of maybe just some slight color changes, is that this one has a dry brushing over it. So it brings out some of the texture on the skull. but otherwise they're basically the same. They still got like the gold bronzy color on the side. It's still got the painted locks, things like that. So it's not quite as different as the first one, but it is different enough. Like there's definitely a slight difference. They're not the same, but they're also not quite as different as some of the other things that we've seen changed over the years. Like it's not the same as like the Father Christmas going from silver helmets to a gold helmet. This is a more subtle change, but I really like this. I absolutely love this head sculpt. It's worth the price of admission almost for this figure for me just to get more of these. So that's really cool. And it does, I think, work pretty well on this particular color scheme if you got some of this stuff at Legion's Con, or if you're going to try to get some when they do the in-stock sale, whenever that is next year. But yeah, he comes with all the same stuff, but it's all really great accessories. A lot of this stuff is versatile across other figures. You know, this harness thing is kind of specific, but I think it works really well if you throw it on other figures and kind of give them a prisoner type of vibe. And then he does come with just an all-around amazing extra head sculpt. So yeah, overall, this is a great repaint. I'm really happy with this one. This might be my preferred version of Jacob Marley at this point. I really like the just bright, vibrant blue here. It, of course, gives off a Haunted Mansion vibe, and I'm all for that. But even at face value, just this color scheme works to give him this very ethereal blue color. It is, of course, a shame that this figure does not glow. But again, like I said, I didn't even know that he was supposed to glow. I missed that note somewhere along the line. So it wasn't anything for me when I found out that it wasn't included. I do understand, you know, it's still a problem and it's worth mentioning, but I think he looks great as it is. And he is just incredibly vibrant and saturated and really nice looking figure. Comes with some really great accessories, moves really, really well. He is, of course, maybe not the most action-y type of figure out there because of what he is, but he does have a lot of versatility. And again, I love the colors on these parts, the accessories, that harness that he has, and you can't go wrong with that secret bonus head sculpt. So that's going to do it for this look at the Figura Obscura retailer exclusive Haunted Blue Ghost of Jacob Marley. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.